Hello, Garland Nixon here with Andrei Martyanov. We got a few things to talk about. Let's talk. Hello, Garland Nixon here, hanging out with Andrei Martyanov. And I know a lot of people are like, well, you haven't been having guests in much. Well, I am moving. I lived in the same house for 30 years, and now I'm moving. And trust me when I tell you this, I got to be out by December 17th. And it is quite a job. I'll just say that, quite a job. Anyway, so let's get going. Speaking of everything that's going on, a couple of things. Number one, and that is, everything I read, it's like, oh, in Mirnograd, there's 15 brigades that are in a cauldron, and there's a cauldron here, a bigger cauldron forming there. And it looks like, slowly but surely, it's like, and you've heard that, the old joke about a guy, how did you go broke? And he said slowly and then suddenly.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's what's happening on the battlefield, Andre.
Yeah, there is another anecdote which it's very kind of lowbrow, but it's about the young and old bulls who
Right.
walk down. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know the one.
So will slowly go down and slowly will own the whole herd. That's exactly what it is. So, and this is the strategy which is was from the get-go. It's not about armed forces of Ukraine, which are, for all intents and purposes, Russians don't call them now armed forces of Ukraine. They call them terrorists. Simple as that. Because what they conduct is Nazis. Some people in Gestapo probably would be terrified by what is done by them. So, yeah, it's Gulai Poli is next. Everybody will like, oh, yeah, Gulai Poli will probably take another, months before. Next day, oh, we're already in the eastern part of the city. It's like, and that's the whole point. People do not understand that defensive line are very good. It's obviously you need to have the fortifications and things like that, which is, of course, Russians are now at the so-called third line of it. But in the end, it is the system of the so-called strong points. The strong point for battalion here and there, they unify them into their so-called network. This is the line of defense. So you have to deal with them separately. But once you deal with one or two, you create a gap. And then things started to flood. And now the dynamics of the special military operation is such that, first, there's no need to rush. Absolutely no need to rush. The economy is doing great. Their basically supply, the sustainment of the operations is unparalleled, in the world, even compared to the Red Army, which could sustain enormous deep operations. But these are not deep operations. This is what previous one, the penultimate, so to speak, issue of the Военная мысль, military thought, wrote about that. Yeah, it's the tactics of the squeezing out. There's no need to dissect them or, so you just squeeze them out. And then, of course, at some point of time, they break down, you surround them, and then mopping up happens. And yes, Mirnograd, nobody knows the number there. I mean, if you take a look at it, it's absolute nightmare there for them. And West has nothing to provide them with anymore. And that was the idea. The main political objective was always, since Bojo, on behalf of Biden administration, sabotaged Istanbul talks in 2022, it was the demilitarization of NATO. And this is exactly which almost happened, Doug McGregor, speaking to Danny Davis a couple of days ago, he said, the task is for Trump. The only thing he can accomplish now to say to NATO, sit down and shut up, because the big guys, and we know what is happening in sense of the political outcome. And yeah, you saw yourself how Russians eating are the last hedgehog.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's horrible in Russia. Yeah, absolutely. And people say Moscow is just Mosfilm, just to show you the Hollywood picture. In reality, you go like 10 kilometers away, and then Novosibirsk also is. Vladivostok is totally fake. So look at this. Maybe they finally recognize that it's over for them, and that's the panic. And some definitely did, because I read today this little dude, the cock from France, Micron, they call him. He's like, oh, United States is going to betray Ukraine. No, United States already betrayed Ukraine by the virtue that the United States has nothing to supply it with, and it doesn't have forces to do anything. And it's just too bad that Trump didn't use this off-ramp, which was presented to him and to the United States since the basically start of his administration. But he owns the war now, and the only thing he can do now, the only thing he will get, United States, is off-ramp, because Russians understand that superpower, you just don't go and completely humiliate it, because like cornered rat, it could bite back. Who knows? There's so many nut jobs in Washington. So, and that's the thing. The rest of it is, Russia dictates conditions of capitulation. I spoke about it for a few years now, but people didn't understand. Now they understand, and that's what we have.
Well, you've looked at the history of Europe and the crazy things, the old let them get cake and they get their head eat cake stuff.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, that's crazy. The people are starving and the leaders would literally like just laugh at them. And of course, they get their heads cut off. You look at what happened with everything, Charles the 12th, or all of these other invasions of these disasters. And you think, boy, that sure was crazy. And you look at the Europeans today, and now I understand it. They're nuts. The leaders of Europe, they're inbred, their brains, their DNA is all screwed up.
Yeah, it's screwed up. Yeah.
Leaders are absolutely insane.
You look at them, at this political elite. There is something wrong with them, even physically, in a sense that, there's some kind of their, some kind of deficiency of whatever it is, nutrition, or you look at Macron, he's a joke. You look at Merz, good Lord, or you look at the Freuding guy, the chief of the general staff of Bundeswehr, this general. He looks like a freaking Panzer SS, dude. He just stick on him, those swastikas and SS signs, and he is eager to kill Russians. I mean, the guy is non-job, and they do not understand the realities of that. It's 2025, and United States stepped in 1944 by virtue of landing in Normandy, which many Russians, there is a school of thought which definitely has the legitimacy that in the end it was for the West to stop Red Army, venturing on the beaches of Normandy, because that's what Russians would go if it wouldn't have happened. The war would have lasted more. But in the end, it was the United States, its massive industrial power, which gave Europe lease for life for another 80 years. And this was by doing so, United States, obviously with help of, as always, British, they extended their essentially and preserved very many of those elements which never has been denazified. Fact is, we know Vatican played a huge role of Operation Paperclip, saving all, and when you have Mr. Manstein, Hauser, all those Wehrmacht top-notch officers, being employed, the official employed by the U.S. Army Department of History. So you kind of, okay, sure. And now this basically is strain, so to speak, of the European nuttery, just downright, and hatred of Russians. Majority of Europeans, Western Europeans hate Russians. Not all. Many people say, oh, we are not. I know there are many decent people. There are many good people in Europe. And I read today this horrible thing about France, and my heart goes out to them. But again, in the same time, I have to admit, you earned it because you elected this creep, twice. That 55% of families in France, they cannot afford to buy presents for their children, Christmas presents. It's horrible. But
I was going to tell you this: when I was in Russia, so I was talking to some people that had been visiting some people in in France, right? And I'm in Russia, and look. You go in the hotel room. I got to ask them to turn the heat down. It's toasty warm. You turn it on, hot water, 24 hours a day. Energy is cheap as I don't know what, right? They got big cars. They're driving around in SUVs like the United States here. The gas is cheap. They were telling me they went to France and they were staying with some people, and they went to take a shower. And the people were like, no, don't turn on the hot water. Oh, keep it down. Oh, keep the water down, because it's so expensive for energy. That if you burn hot water, and they're here, they're like, just turn the hot water on just to watch it. Steam's coming on everywhere. And you go to Europe, and these people are suffering. The Russians are living way better than they are.
Yeah, and that's when I was saying, for example, in Germany, when I say it's not hyperbole, it's not the figure of speech. They are rushing towards Weimar Republic. This is what's going to happen. Vladimir Putin today says, you got yourself a green agenda. He didn't say it like this, but that was implied. Enjoy it. So you wanted it. And people say, we didn't want for European Commission and Brussels. You didn't, I agree. But your elites, whom you elected, they are the, you know what? Everybody knows Macron is the errand boy for Rothschilds,
Of course. So,
yeah. And it's like, what can I say? You had choices. Not that Marine Le Pen is not globalist, but at least, she could have straightened some things out, maybe. But that's what those elites are, and you look at them, most of them look degenerate to me. And again, the Freuding is like, good Lord, I mean, Jesus, it's unbelievable. And he's very representative about those people. Then now you have this Nazi, psycho-Nazi, von der Leyen, and the other psycho-Nazi, and Kaja Kallas, they are rewriting history. Okay, go rewrite history. But that's why Putin stated 2 days ago, you want war with Russia? Come on in, we're ready. He said, then rather after it's all done, we will have nobody to negotiate with, because Russia will wipe out military political top of Europe. Russians will not destroy Europe unless some idiot in France or decides that, let's launch nuclear weapons at Russia. Well, France will cease to exist after that, together with most of Europe. But other than that, Russia has tools now to basically eliminate this thing, and then whatever happens to them happens now. It's not Russia's business to take care of them. Not a single foot, a single drop of blood of Russian soldier will ever be, dropped on the European soil. I have been on record explicitly, and I was, basically for the Iron Curtain from the get-go, and because this is a degenerate culture and it's over. 500 years of the domination of the combined West is over. So the world is completely different, and technologically, Europe it's not good for them.
Well, it seems to me, to be frank, lately Trump has been saying a couple of things. He says, hey, we're not going to try to pressure any Russia with sanctions or anymore. That stuff is over. He's basically said, I don't necessarily believe they're not giving any money, but they're not giving us that Trump and those people want the hell out. And I've said this, if we're honest about it, Americans know how to lose a war. They've had a lot of practice, right? Americans, it's like, we lost another war. Oh, well, how much did we steal? We got $300 billion. All right, let's move on. I'm the one that came up with the term. I said the United States will exercise the Samsonite option. When it's over, they'll pack their damn bags and leave. The Americans are really good at losing wars. It's like, what do? Count your money, look around. Hey, guys, all the people that work with us, you're probably going to get hanged. Bye, and America's out. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's not a problem for America to lose a war. It's just what we do. It's just another day. But the Europeans don't apparently know how to lose a war. And
they never understood what they were getting themselves into. And here is the thing, which was very interesting. And I spoke today with Nima, and I put it on my blog. There is this conference of Israel, on Israel. There, and they have the guy, he's American Jew, and he comes out. You can look it up. It's on my, whatever the conference, it just was held recently. You can see it, what is written on those, basically walls behind it. And he says, American Jews should move to Israel, and Israel should kind of invest, they're talking about Jewish capital, obviously, invest into Eurasia. Oh, yeah. What is, as I always ask the same question, who is the victor in all that? Russia. Who is the largest economy in all that? China. Who is the emerging also super major power there? India. Who are those people? Oh, they are BRICS. And capital loves tranquility, stability. This is what it is. And the guy, this Jewish guy from New York, he said, hey, you dudes in New York, you don't know what you're dealing with. The United States is bankrupt. And it is. We know it, So, I mean, this is not the place where you can park your capital. So all those Rothschilds, all those whatever they are, they're thinking now where we move things. Obviously, Europe is over as the safe haven. It's completely bankrupt. It's completely, basically, is being deindustrialized, and you have to park capital in some place which produces things, tangibles. And what are tangibles? Energy, oil, gas, all this nuclear, and then advanced technologies. Where do you get this? Well, Russia, China. So there you go. Stable countries, China is the gigantic, monstrous economy, largest economy in the history of humanity, So, and you have Russia, which is military victor, technological victor. And when you look at this, like, yeah, it's kind of, let's move those things there, and obviously that's why Kushner went together with Witkoff. Well, Witkoff was messenger, but Kushner went out there probably to probe the waters in terms of, we have the guys from New York, and they kind of have doubts, about, because obviously they can count money and say, Russia is in the driving seat, which even British admit now, and Russians will be saying, and that's going to happen. They will say, okay, you go in, we allow you. You go to hell, So that's what is basically happening right now. And this is the reshaping of the world, the likes we didn't see in millennium, which literally it's a new world order. And you saw yourself, Putin today is in India. His buddy Modi pleasantly violated all protocol, came to meet him personally, So then, isolated Russia. It's so isolated.
Let me ask you this. That's something you'll know about. What they're saying, they want S-400, they want S-500, but now we're hearing, Algeria, we're hearing all of these countries say they want the Su-57. What is it about the Su-57 that these countries are really, frothing at the bit? They're like, we don't care about a F-35 or none of that crap. What is it about the Su-57 that makes it so desirable?
Well, it's an extremely advanced aircraft. It's fully net-centric. It can control, actually, the whole air battle, including the swarm of the dedicated wingmen, which are, of course, including those things which will go eventually on Expert 2, which is like Охотник S-70. Now it has the different designation, which have been proven. One of them crashed because one of the Russian pilots, something went there, he shot it down in order for it not to get in any hands, which are wrong hands. So these things are extremely advanced in terms of the data links. They are net-centric. They can control whole air battle and even battle on the ground. So they are capable to receive targeting and information from satellite. So it's stealthy, very stealthy. Obviously, their expert version will lack some of the features, but it's stealthy enough to have now. It's the only fifth generation fighter which has an astonishing combat record against real enemy, not some Iraqi Air Force which doesn't exist. We're talking about they were flying. And then, of course, there is the weapon suite, which is unmatched. Among them, R-77, RVV, and, of course, R-37, which is 400-kilometer range hypersonic air-to-air missile. Good luck dealing with it. And it was used by both Su-57 and Su-35 and the Su-30 SM-2 to a devastating effect, with shooting down targets which were like, they never knew what hit them. So when you look at this package, it's an amazing, and then of course, thrust vectoring and what this thing does in the air, everybody saw it on, they always steal the show, so, and that's the outstanding aircraft, the only fifth generation aircraft which has, I know for certain, number of aces there, and Ace is the guy who shot down 5 combat planes of the enemy, 5 and more. So, and yeah, everybody wants it. Algeria wants it. Iran wants it. India, it's gonna get it. We know that now, that it's obvious, together with, and then if that hasn't been enough, now rumor circulates, which might not be a rumor at all, that they did sign, they will sign, it has been green lighted, $2 billion contract for the lease of the 10-year lease of the another nuclear power submarine. And this submarine most likely will be not again Project 971, which wrongly is called Akula, while in reality it's Shuka. Akula was the actually Typhoon. But it's India already had it. India already had the 10-year experience with operating the Project 971 Shuka, the submarine. So most likely, that's my speculation, they will get the first hull of the Project 885 Yasin class. They will get the actually namesake of the class, Severodvinsk. Severodvinsk can carry zircons, but its main weapon, because it's the first ship in this class, it's P-800 Onyx, and actually Indians have Onyx. It's called Brahmas, and it's a state-of-the-art weapon. Terrifying. And what can I say? Yeah, that's most likely what they get. Yeah, they will get the first, lead ship in the class, Severodvinsk, and that is the technology of immense power, which Indians will get their hands on. They will load their Brahmas. And it's devastating. Firepower, it's state-of-the-art submarine, extremely silent. And so yeah, it's that's probably what's going to happen. But many people forget that they already discussed, and I'm sure it has been green lighted. India is going to be producing Sukhoi Superjet 100 fully Russified at their facilities, because India needs the regional jet, which is narrow body to about up to 100 passengers or a single aisle, and which flies to 3,000 kilometers. Guess what? This is a shocker, actually. Many people do not understand significance of this, but Russians do not mind sharing their Sukhoi technology, fully Russified, from engines to avionics to everything. And so that in itself is it's huge development. So there you go. That's your new world, and it's happening as we speak. And I never thought that I will live and witness all that, but here we are.
Wow. And that's the Onyx right there, right?
Well, yeah, it's an expert version called Yakhant, which is limited with the range of 300 kilometers. But Onyx has the latest version of Onyx, Mach 3, 1,000 plus kilometers. And Indians have been managed to actually launch their version of Onyx, which is Brahmas, to more than 1,000 kilometers at Mach 3.5. It is deadly weapon. It's smart missile. It can basically control the swarm of the missiles in a salvo. It's extremely electronic warfare resistant, and its speed, and it's highly maneuverable, and it's a sea skimmer. So it's a deadly weapon.
Yeah. One of the things, now, let me say this. One of the things that I really stuck out to me, and for people that don't know what this is, this was given to me, and it's what is it? Chabarashka, right? Yeah, this is a cartoon that a lot of kids watched in Russia, and the soldiers, it's kind of like a good luck charm. They hang them up on their BMPs and things like that, and it's a big thing. And so I've got a bunch of them. But you ask, where's my other little Chabarashka? I got a bunch of them around here, right?
Yeah, Chabarashka. Yeah, I have the obviously Cheburasha. It's Cheburashka with Russia. I have the mug. They are actually extremely popular in Japan. Cheburashka is like freaking, they just went bananas over it.
Here's the interesting thing, and I learned something. So I'm in Russia, and they're taking me around to different things, and they said, you got to go to meet the volunteers. The volunteers want to meet you. And I'm like, the volunteers? Who are the volunteers? So we go to this, like an area where there was like a warehouse, and there was all of these people in there. and they were making things to go to the front, cheburashkas, but they were making
nets. Most likely they were doing nets.
Making nets. They were cutting up stuff for the camouflage that goes over tanks.
Yeah.
They were making individual kits for the soldiers, medical kits. They were making these things, they called them trench candles, right? And it's a can like that, like the vegetables would come in, and they put cardboard in it, and then they put wax in it, and you light it, and it can burn bright if you want it for light, or it burns really hot and you can cook over it. And they're making all of these things to go to the soldiers. Then some guy's backed up and he's got this big box truck and they're loading on, and I'm like, well, what is it? And they're like, these are volunteers just from the neighborhood, from the communities, and they go out and they get money from people in the community, and everybody donates, and these people work day and night putting stuff together to go to the soldiers. And I said, oh, well, is it like a government? They said, no, the government has nothing to do. The government doesn't tell us to do it. The government provides the soldiers with everything they need. We do that, right? So then I talked to a friend of mine back here, and I'm like, hey, I told her what's going on, and she says, yeah, my town, everybody does it. That all over Russia, there are people that when a war starts like this, they volunteer. And they use their own money, their own time. They put and I mean, these kits and stuff that they were putting together were professional. And I'm like, oh, you don't have a chance against this country. The whole country came together, and it was all women. This was all women in there, and a few older men. They were like 80 years old that they were volunteering, and they were just working day and night to put together stuff to send to the front to help the soldiers. It was incredible.
Even candy, even sweets. It's a big deal. Listen, it's one thing you have MREs. Russian MREs are really good. I mean, and meals ready to eat and all that. But you always want to not only the standard issue chocolate and thing. You want something additional,
Yes.
Well-fed troops are troops with a high morale,
Yes.
So, and obviously they are troops are extremely well-fed on their, Minister of Defense and all that. But you want sometimes this additional can of juice. You want this sneaker, you want some Alonka chocolate, So it's just normal thing. And and fact is, there are a lot of young people who do that too. And again, I repeat this. This is, it's only so far a joke, only so much joke in this joke. The Russians have it, and they say that they decided to fight country, which is one huge advanced military academy attached to one huge military industrial plant. Good luck with it. Many people do not know that during Great Patriotic War, there were many people who were very well off in Soviet Union, especially actually peasants, peasants, and especially who had, worked in Cauldrons and were making quite a bit of money and, their compensation. So if you look at naturally the history, there were combat planes paid for by people.
Yes.
Some guy comes in and said, hey, I saved since, Lenin came in power. Here are my money. Buy a tank for the guys, and they buy the tank T-34 written from the Ivan Petrov, from personally, guys, go smash those Nazis and things like that. And that's what is happening. They have more than enough from but it's their national calling now, and that's what it is. And many people didn't understand what they were. I warned in 2014, the end of 2014. That's why I love the internet. It preserves it. Go 10 years ago, and I told after the Baltseva and everything, I was like, okay, they decided to spill Russian blood. Wrong choice, wrong people to screw with. And guess what? I wrote then that United States and the West already lost the war. They just don't know it yet, but they will. And here we are, after the start of the special military operation, we have everything, including what many people may not know, that it's not just Russians freeing their constitutionally, approved new territories. Russia is very deep. Russian army is very deep in Dnipropetrovsk, more than 30 kilometers, 36 kilometers actually, and it was a week ago. They are very deep in Kharkov Oblast, Sumy, So when you look at this, will there be those territories absorbed? No, I don't think so. But that will be no man's land in terms of its buffer zone. Russia will control it fully. And that's another thing which is very interesting. There is now a significant presence of North Korean sappers.
Yes.
And they
particularly
are
in Kursk. I heard it particularly in Kursk that
in
the
Kursk, there
sappers
were
are
that many. There were
clearing
some.
Kursk everywhere.
Yeah, they were in capacity of the special forces. They were not that large, but now there is like the talk. They have more than brigade already deployed with the sappers. They are trained not only in the mining things. Obviously, they are good soldiers, and they prove themselves to be very good soldiers. So they go through their preparation training in Russian training camps, in the rear, and then go in. They are extremely well equipped. They have their standard Russian issue of the equipment from all those ratnik uniforms, all those things. And so these are the guys who will be more than glad to guard the buffer zones. And then, of course, we don't know, after Vladimir Putin's statements about coast and the denying Ukraine access to the Black Sea. What do I know? I'm just a guy, okay?
Oh, by the way, this is a little cheborachka. Somebody made that with beads. All the cheborachkas, they're all handmade. If you look, they cut it out, the little pieces, and everything.
Yeah, but in reality, cheburashka is really charming. These are kind of like crude ones.
Yeah,
but
you know what? I think it is and they said the soldiers love them, and I think the fact that they're handmade. The fact that there's people taking their time and working, and I think it shows the soldiers that the people support them. And there were people there that drove to the front, and where there was I said, did you ever see enemy soldiers? Oh yeah, and they were behind a BMP. They had video where we had to go real fast because they might shoot. These are civilians. What were you doing? Well, we had 3 or 4 carloads. There's a truck. They call it. It means like bread. It's shaped like a loaf of bread.
Bukhanka.
Yeah, that's it.
It's like God created a Mercedes-Benz and Autobahns, but it never touched Bukhanka. Bukhanka came out good from the get-go.
It looks just like a loaf of bread.
It is a loaf of bread. That's why it's called Bukhanka is a loaf of bread. So it's a legendary thing. Come on, it's never changes. It's the same as it was 60 years ago. So. No, I mean, they put some modest modifications, but that thing is just, I mean, you know what, probably in 100 years, Russians still would love to have Bukhanka, and so.
And they loaded them up with stuff and took it off the front.
Yeah, Bukhankas, And so there is a club of Bukhanka fans in Japan.
Oh, really?
There is a club of Bukhanka, evidently some Japanese find something about this Bukhanka thing, which is Bukhankas are legendary. You can load a lot of things there.
Yeah, they had them loaded they took them there, and they had pictures of these Bukhankas, and they had several of them in a row, and they loaded them up, and I went in there, believe it or not. So the one that I went in, they were people from the Communist Party of Russia, and they had a picture of Stalin, they had a picture of Vladimir Putin, and they had a picture of Scott Ritter. That's hilarious.
Scott finally found his audience.
He was between Vladimir Putin and Stalin. There's Scott right in the middle. Side picture.
Well, I mean, you know that Russians are following Americans, people like you, like Scott, like Larry. This is a big deal, so, and Russians follow it. You are on Russian TV. I just went to a TG channel. I'm going to be sharing it with. So it's, the fact is, this is America, which Russians love and always knew, since this were our allies. So it's wonderful that it happens on the, human level, because obviously, and you're right. Trump wants out. He's not a complete moron. He is not, Biden. He definitely understands where his interests lie with whom. And again, if he wants to preserve the United States as another great power, there are some things he needs to do. We'll see.
Yeah, one of the things he needs to do is get out of this mess.
Yeah,
But
that's for sure.
at any rate, your thoughts on the meetings that he's having. You know, it's interesting because the U.S. is, I mean, excuse me, the Russians are tight with the Chinese, really tight with the Chinese. They're really tight with the Indians, but the Chinese and the Indians don't get along so well. You know, I think it's really important. To me, it seems to me that President Putin has really put the relationship with India at a very high priority.
Well, Russia still extremely tight with China. There is a gigantic growth in mutual trade, and now there is obviously issue of the visa-free. You know, so it's kind of shaping to be type of things with Chinese, and especially border trade is huge. You know, apart from the other things, and there are many things which Chinese need, and plus, don't forget, lunar base. It's Russia and China. This is going to be huge. And now after Burevestnik and all this, you know, miniature nuclear reactors and things like that, it's like, whoa, dude, we can go far with that. So they are working on that. India, however, there is always presence. First, we need to keep in mind Pakistan. There's always something goes on. Then, in terms of the within the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and in terms of the BRICS, the disputes between China and India not only could be, but they have been mitigated already on the number. You know, so but especially Russia being intermediary, and then suddenly, you know, so they, you know. You have the many things began to move in terms of the, you know, border claims and border clashes, you know, so it's really good kind of dynamics there. So, and as many people understand, once these three come together, which is happening as we speak, nothing can stop it. It's nothing, period. I mean, there's not, many people do not understand. They say, oh, damn, you know, economic power of the West. First, as it turned out to be, it was grossly overestimated, to put it mildly, okay? So then when I say, tell people that economically Russia is bigger than economies of Germany and France combined, many people like, how this could be? Well, the simple as that. Look at the data, and people, you begin to show the data like, oh my God. And, you know, when you look at that, China's economy, it's a workshop of the world. Okay, simple as that. Okay, let's put it this way. And India obviously is growing tremendously. There are some serious social issues they need to address, but they are doing whatever they can to do this. And so, it's so what we have, we will have more than 3.2 billion people producing. People say, oh, it's the third of the world's GDP. No, it's not the third. It's closer to the 50% of the world's GDP. This, and it's the mightiest military power, you know, on the planet, is in the center of this. And when you look at this, like, yeah, that's the new world. That's the new pole. In fact, is what will be the interplay between Russians and Chinese? It is very good. These are very good relations that people constantly try to, you know, put doubt into this. No, Russians operate on the wide spectrum of the interest, including India, of course. And as I already stated, put these three together, you have an economic and military monster. You know, so simple as that.
Well, you know, one of the things I noticed, I took the train to St. Petersburg, and that was a really nice train. It was really
Sapsan,
nice.
you mean Sapsan, most likely.
What's that?
Sapsan?
I'm not
It's
sure.
called Sapsan. This train called Sapsan is after the bird. It's,
okay. It was a beautiful train. It was new.
Yeah,
it was very nice.
Hours, right?
Yes, 4 hours. Yes.
Yeah,
but here's what I was going to say. When I get outside of Moscow and I'm looking, and I just see miles and miles of industry. These huge factories and smokestacks, and I don't know if there was steel mills. I don't know, but I'm going outside of Moscow, heading towards there, and on the outskirts of Moscow, you're seeing and then you'll see like factories, and then you'll see like a town where like the town people all worked in these factories, and there's more factories and more towns and more, and you're going along, and I'm like, now that is some serious industry I'm seeing.
There are, and many people do not understand that Russia is not only Moscow. And when you tell them, "Oh, have you been to Novosibirsk?" Oh, go, be impressed, okay? And Krasnoyarsk, there's whole clusters there, industrial scientific clusters. For example, many people don't know that Novosibirsk State University is an extremely prestigious and reputable school in Russia, one of the most competitive schools, and especially they have outstanding STEM programs there, so it's not just Moscow, St. Petersburg, or those other cities. Well, Novosibirsk is a huge city, and so then you go along the Volga, and along the Volga is just one. You see, it used to be that Samara, city of Samara, former Kuybyshev, before its revolution and before communists came to power, it was called Russian Chicago for a reason. Gigantic, silos of grain, trade, river building, shipbuilding, and slaughterhouses, metalworks, and that was already in the Tsarist Russia, and they were called for a reason Russian Chicago, because it was one gigantic industrial, spread there. So obviously, revolution and the civil war interrupted all of that, but it grew even more under the Soviets. And now you look at Samara, my God, it's the center of the space industry of Russia. Many people do not understand. That is why they have the Soyuz rocket that's standing there, and the city is built around it. It's nice city, actually. The Russian cities are improving tremendously. And when you tell them, oh yeah, in Samara, you have the Gorbunov, the industry which produce all kinds of, that's there also engines, and the Tu-95s at some point of time. They produce rocket engines, they produce rockets, they produce all kinds of things. And can you imagine what kind of expertise and supply chain goes into this? Many people do not understand. They view it like, iPhone, or Tesla truck. It's just like, guys, go there, look at this. This is the industry. This is and industrial output is immense.
It seems to me also, that right now, the Kiev regime it seems to me there's pressure being put on it from all of this corruption, like somebody surprised. Oh, what do you know? There's corruption in Korea. Who didn't see that? But it seems to me that that's deliberate. I think it's the Trump administration. I could be wrong. I think they're doing it to put pressure on them. And I had heard rumor that they were going to basically threaten at some point. Well, I'll put it like this. I'll leave that alone right now until I know more about it. But at any rate, it seems to me that part of the plan to get the heck out of this mess has to do with corruption investigations both in Ukraine and in the
European Union.
EU.
There is a school of thought to which I subscribe, as I already stated. One of the reasons why they are also going complete bananas, that most likely those funds of Russia do not exist anymore. They have been embezzled by Europeans, and they cover it up. So, and Russians know it. And so that's, and can you imagine what it will do to Europe? It's the end. It's the complete end. And this is partially why behavior is so much from their part, because their idea was, we steal this money, we bet our house, especially London and Paris and Berlin, we bet our house on the, Ukrainian, which was, in 2022, it was the best army West ever had. It was the most powerful army in Europe, apart from Russian. And so, and think, okay, we go there, we create this mayhem and quagmire for Russian forces. We bleed them white. Putin regime falls. So and on. We introduce those sanctions, which have to topple Putin's regime. We bring those nut jobs, which are totally controlled by CIA, MI6, so-called Russian liberals, put them in charge, and here we are. We have the access to the greatest treasure on the earth, from all those energy to other things. And then suddenly, 2022 passes by, nothing happens. 2023 passes by, they do this idiotic counteroffensive, kill 200,000 their own troops, do not reach even the first line of defense, and then suddenly they begin to understand, my gosh, what the hell are we getting ourselves into? And so the game starts. And then here we are today. We remember Kursk. They mostly performed atrocities. They killed 80,000 of their own. Again, that tells you the level of their military professionalism, quote unquote. And then suddenly the money are spent. The money are stolen. It's nothing there. And they were misappropriated, they have been used for something else, and now this horrible game starts. One of the reasons the dollar is now, it's dollar, okay? Some people still use it, obviously, and but they like to talk about this reserve currency. The point is, the moment they impose those, as they call, nuclear sanctions, including removing Russia from SWIFT, they thought that will be it. Russia said, okay. So, yeah. And now, guess what? Yesterday, Putin says, and Lavrov says the same thing, that, we're not into a rush to do the allegedly, unified currency. We trade in our own currencies. It's fine, works. Can you imagine the rest of the world looks at this now like, wow, you can do that? Yeah, you could do that. And it works just fine, and suddenly this mythology of the reserve currency just, and that is why, again, I strongly suggest to see this video of this guy on this Jewish conference of Israel, pro-Israel conference, because suddenly everything, the bluff has been called militarily. And so now they have to, again, they say now suddenly it's 140 billion for some reason. Wait a minute, there was 300, wasn't it? Then suddenly 100. Where the rest of it? Where are 160 billion of other means? Oh, we know where they are. They went into all kinds of their, shady operations. People stole them. Many people, as Larry said, and he knows what he's talking about. Much of the laundering of those money went through there, including their U.S. money through Estonia, through Kaja Kallas. She was directly involved, and that's why she is basically turned into the complete nut job. She talks about that Russia attacked poor Nazi Germany. So what can I say? These are all the signs, indications of basically something so huge. It's and they know they done. They know they done. It's just a matter of now who will run first.
I think that I always say there's no honor amongst thieves. In Ukraine, there's no honorable people in Kiev. And that as this thing collapses, they'll jump ship and they'll go to the Russians and say, can we make a deal? Or we've got information on this person. They'll be bargaining. Oh, we've got tapes on this person, video. Just, let me go free. Let me keep some of my money. They're going to start bargaining with the Russians because they don't care. They're just trying to get their money. And
not only money. It's all about how they will end their life. Some people will come for this money and they might end up dead accidentally. Others very well might end behind bars, for the rest of their lives. And so that's what we are looking at. That is what, but suddenly the Telegraph, the main Russophobic and visceral Russian hatred, the tabloid in London yesterday, they come out and, Russia is winning. Putin is in the driving seat. What are we going to do? Nothing. You can do nothing, so you are bankrupt, you are completely discredited, you are war criminals. And so, the judgment is coming. So what did you expect? It's just that they thought for some reason that it will be some kind of the Iraq war or something like that, because they are obviously very incompetent people. But for some reason, Russia didn't collapse. I warned about it again. More than 10 years ago. You do not know what you're getting yourself into, because obviously wrong people. I know, I'm Russian myself. There are all kinds of things they never understood, which also brings me to this thing which I'm speaking nonstop. United States doesn't have Russia experts, period. Same goes for Europe. Those people who do understand things, they are not allowed anywhere near establishment. They are not allowed to say anything contrary to the contrary. And as a result, here we are again. Here we are. Everybody knows what is going on now.
Yeah, this thing's coming apart now, and I think the U.S. is trying to get out. Kaja Kallas the other day, apparently, she said something to the effect of, when she was told that it's illegal to steal the Russian money, Kaja Kallas said, "Yeah, but who cares?" Because I'm paraphrasing, but she said, "Well, there's no court in Europe that will dare to rule against us," which just because she's she's a
Most
fascist.
likely, they already stole it. They already
I was
stole
about
it.
to say it shows a
Well,
level
look at this with Latvia today. Well,
okay.
yesterday. The first, so to speak, the first stone has been cast. Latvia did something to Russians. I don't remember what they misappropriated. Russians responded today, yesterday, essentially, 24 hours ago. Okay, they expropriated the $400 million worth of Latvian property in Russia. So that's it. By order of Putin. That's the first stone. First, the rest is coming, so, and you understand, it's going to be with the huge interest. And that is why the talk from Russian side suddenly intensified about Russians know. Russians have excellent human intelligence on the ground, They know where those money are, where did they go, but it's all political play, which is important because it's placed in front of the whole world and people have to see. But it's already suddenly this talk about that, or if they want to do something about it, just Vladimir Putin, a couple of days ago, he says, they will lose trillions, so essentially that's what it comes down to, because, they will lose trillions, and then they will get, court-martialed essentially and thrown behind bars. They will not live peacefully with their stolen wealth.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's interesting too. The other thing I found about, and I, talked with people and had dinners with lots of people, and you got to hang out with a lot of people who were kind of in the know, and they were talking about this, the Atlanticists, the liberals, the whatever you want to call them in Russia, those who were, really diehard anti-Putin, and they thought they either left or they just shut up, that they are no longer a force. They are no longer a voice in Russia. They've been discredited.
They are completely discredited. They have no bearing on Russian internal politics. And they are discredited to the point that actually, no matter what idea they bring, it's just like, no, shut up, get the hell out. And fact is, Russia said, you know what? Well, we finally begin to breathe with including in culture, for crying out loud. If you look at Russian pop scene and, rock scene, and suddenly you have people who, apart from the fact that they're always good, but even you look attentively, there was this very interesting development. People know that Shaman, he is huge, obviously. But, you look at what is called the folkish culture, pop culture, you look at it's unbelievable. Some lady, Nadezhda Kadышeva, she was singing in clubs, for many years. She was famous, okay, make no mistake. And then something happens. She gathers stadiums. And the girls, especially Russian girls, they go in guys, with the traditional Russian, it's like, oh my God, this is something unbelievable. And she tours, and everywhere she goes, it's the arenas. She packs, 15, 20,000 people. And now we have this unique girl, Tatiana Kurtukova. Like the whole old, layer of this rotten, have been removed completely, and just new people came out. And so you look at this like, oh my God. And they say, you sing what we wanted to hear, not this BS, pseudo folkish thing, but and suddenly everything changes. And what can I say? Things develop in such a direction that you kind of sit and I'm in awe, honestly. I am not gonna lie. I am in awe what is happening around us, how it is happening. And when you understand there some details of the military operations and strategies, and it's like, good Lord, this is. Did they understand what they did to themselves? So because they did know, they didn't know what they were getting themselves into, and now it's too late.
One last thing before we go. We only got 5 minutes, but this Venezuela thing, right?
Mhm.
Now my position, everybody's like they're going to attack. They're going to attack. My position is I don't see how they can. I've been to Venezuela and spent a lot of time
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
right?
With
I don't see how they can attack for this reason. Okay, people are like they're going to attack. I'm like, okay, then what? Okay, they throw some long-range
yeah,
missiles or bombs or whatever. They got some anti-aircraft. I don't think they'll be flying a lot over Venezuela. They have some
yeah.
S-300s and
Mostly
some boats
standoff
that get
weapons.
dangerous.
Yeah.
So they throw some standoff weapons. And then what? An army of 16,000 men ain't going to get it done in a country that
No,
size.
they
And the
tried
people
evidently.
are armed and ready for armed struggle. You go in there, they're going to shoot you to pieces. So I don't think the U.S. attacks Venezuela. They may, but I still don't think so.
Yeah, I think you're right. And the point is, they try again the same thing which they were doing all the time: regime change. There have been evidently some rumors that there were some kind of special forces on the ground, but they didn't get anywhere. Evidently, we don't know. Nobody will tell us, obviously, but it's not Iraq and Venezuelans. And again, we go back to, we discussed it before. As it turned out, again, I can quote only Doug McGregor. He is in the know here. He says, yeah, there is 100,000 of militants on the border between Colombia and Venezuela. And the only thing they want to do in their life is to kill Americans. So the moment that thing starts, they go in. And then Vietnam will be a stroll in the park compared to, and we have the situation, and I don't know where it will go, but evidently today I believe Pete, Pentagon Pete, retired the guy, the admiral, the black guy. I mean, I don't know who he is.
Was it Halsey? Was it the guy that said he didn't want to get involved or something? I think he was in front of
Something
Southcom.
like that, but it's about this essentially killing us, murdering people in the boats, and it's like evidently somebody gave the order, so.
Right.
And obviously, Trump rushed as always. They're like, oh my God, this is murder, essentially. So somebody is going to be, and obviously, it's not going to be Pentagon Pete. So he found this admiral. I need to get deeper into the story, what is going on there. But evidently, that message has been received. And these 6 cowards from the Democratic Party, headed by Kelly, initially, they went on this blanket generalities, and then only on the 30th, they had enough guts. This Senator Mark Kelly has to come up and said, no generalities. This is the murder. Well, too late, dude. Before that, everybody went, and this is to the greatest, greatest credit to, obviously, people like Larry, the people just were outraged, but that Americans went into arms like, what the hell are you doing? These are, they are not, most likely not narco, drug dealers. Some of them may have been, but they obviously also murdered people who have been absolutely civilians, and so it's scandal. We'll see if that will be the pretext to call the whole damn thing off, but somebody again in the strategy department, so-called in White House, didn't calculate the consequences, and I'm not sure they know what they're doing.
I don't think they are. I don't think they can go. You don't want to go to another mountainous, jungleless terrain to go in there with 16,000 soldiers. 16,000 soldiers. Yeah, that's not going to. That's not. There's not even a possibility that you could. What are you going to attack? A small town on the fishing village or something on the coast, maybe, and you probably lose that because they're all armed. At any rate. Yeah. Well, thank you not very much. Okay, everybody. Before we go, let me just show you something real quick. Andrei has a great website, a great blog, and it's called Reminiscence of the Future. Oh, look at those 2 good-looking guys there. There we go. And then, of course, all of his other stuff is there. But on the side, look at this. Get Andrei's books, America's Final War, Disintegration, The Real Revolution. And so you can go on and on. All of his books are over there, everywhere he is. And, of course, you can buy him a coffee or 2, right? So, and make sure you follow his great YouTube show, which is a Smoothie X12. So that's Andrei's stuff. Everybody, make sure we got what 580 people. So that should be at least 580 people who go to Reminiscence of the Future and become subscribers and members and all of that good stuff. And of course, his YouTube shows, which are out several times a week, usually about 30 minutes, are great. You'll love them. Thanks a lot, Andrei. Certainly appreciate it. Everybody, thank you very much. Make sure you share this on all your social media accounts. See everything going across the bottom there. If you can afford it, PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, Patreon, whatever. And of course, there's my email. I got a P.O. box for those who use snail mail. Thanks a lot, everybody. Share this everywhere. We're out.